Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to See Mindy Mom, I'm so glad you found me. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I am sharing with you a budget dinners video, and I'm going to share with you one of the strategies that I use to keep costs low whenever I am making a meal plan, especially whenever I am doing these budget meal challenges, so stay tuned. I hope that if you have not already, you will hit that subscribe button and also click that little bell for notifications so that you know when new videos are coming out on my channel. I do almost all of my videos here in my kitchen, and a lot of my content revolves around how I am feeding my family, saving time and saving money. I have a bunch, probably dozens and dozens of videos with budget meal challenges with different parameters, with different price points, shopping at different stores, using different kinds of ingredients, meatless meal plans that include meat, 1 meal, 2 meals, 3 meals, a week's worth of meals. I have all different kinds of these types of videos. They are in a playlist, which I will leave linked in the description box below. For this video, I prepared 4 different dinners for my family of 5 for right around $25 or so. And I did that by doing something that I do often when meal planning and also trying to stay on a budget. I used several ingredients across multiple dishes. So instead of just deciding what sounds good for dinner and then looking at a list of ingredients and buying everything that I need, whether or not I was going to use up the entire package of what I was purchasing, I actually thought about how I can use some things across multiple dishes for these 4 meals. Using this strategy also allows me to take a look at what's on sale or what's on special in my store. So for instance, this week, chicken breast was on rollback and I was able to get that fairly inexpensively, especially compared to other meats. So I decided that this would be a week of chicken meals. I tried to utilize the other ingredients, the starches, the vegetables, the different dairy products that I was using across all of those dishes as well, so that instead of having to buy a completely new set of ingredients for every single meal, I'm actually utilizing the ingredients I'm already purchasing, which allows me to buy them on sale or buy them in bulk when I'm going to get the best price point. Here is what I ended up with from Walmart, and believe it or not, I'm going to get 4 meals for my family of 5 out of what you see here. I have a 5-pound bag of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. These were on rollback. This is the 5-pound freezer bag and it was $9. I have 1 yellow onion, 2 Roma tomatoes, 1 pound of carrots. These are still very inexpensive at my Walmart. They're 84 cents for a 1-pound bag. I have 2 packages of steam in the bag corn, and the reason I picked up the brand name is because it was on manager rollback. So it was only 75 cents for a 10-ounce package. This bag of broccoli florets is 2 pounds, and it was also on rollback, I guess, because it was priced at just $1. I actually took some B-roll so that you guys would believe me that I found this at my Walmart for $1. And this is another example of using something across multiple dishes, especially when it's a great price. So instead of getting lots of different vegetable sides, this is going to be 2 or maybe even 3 nights worth of green vegetable sides for my family. 1 box of taco shells. You'll see how I'm going to use these. Well, I mean, we're going to have tacos, but if you wanted to get tortillas, you could, but they were a little bit more expensive, and my family actually really likes crunchy tacos, so it's nice to get those from time to time. A 1-pound box of pasta. I got the rotini. A 1-pound package of plain old long grain white rice, and these are still the same price that they were like 2 years ago, or for as long as I can remember, 72 cents for a pound at my Walmart. 1 can of diced tomatoes and green chilies. This is the Walmart brand of Rotel. 1 pound of cheese. I chose pepper jack. Once you see how I'm using the cheese in this video, you can decide what kind you want, because I think that you could change this out for something else. I chose the pepper jack because whenever I'm going to be using a little less cheese, especially if I'm trying to cut back on cost, I want to use a little bit less cheese. I try to get the ones that are more flavorful. So like a sharp cheese or a pepper jack is going to have a lot of flavor, so a little bit is going to go a long way. 1 little 8-ounce container of sour cream. 1 block of cream cheese, which is still on rollback at my Walmart for $1. 1 pint of half and half, and then 1 loaf of bread from the discount bakery rack. This little loaf of Italian bread, which is already sliced, was only 75 cents. It's going to make some delicious garlic toast. There was one thing that they were out of at Walmart that I had intended to purchase for this meal plan, and that was a packet of ranch dressing seasoning in the Great Value brand. They were just out at my neighborhood market. That was where I shopped. It's the smaller Walmart, the one that's just a grocery store, and that store, even in non-pandemic times, runs out of stuff faster, I find, kind than my Super Center does. But I have one packet from Aldi, and I actually make this from scratch a lot of times. I will leave a link to a video in the description box that shows you guys how I make some of my spice mixes from scratch. But I wasn't able to pick that up because they were out. And I also did not pick up any taco seasoning because I make that from scratch as well. But you can pick up a packet of taco seasoning at my Walmart for 30 cents, I think. I have my receipt right here, and everything I showed you guys plus the ranch mix would have been about $26 and some change. It was a little over $26 before tax was applied. Like I said, I couldn't buy the ranch seasoning, so I went ahead and just added in the price to my total because I have some here from Aldi that I can use instead, or I make my own from scratch. Tonight I am making a creamy chicken and rice soup, and this is what I am using. I have 3 of my carrots here, and I'm going to chop those up, peel and chop them, and I'm also going to use probably about 1/3 to 1/2 of this onion as well. I'll chop that up. I'm going to use 1 cup of my long grain white rice here, 1 cup, which is half of this pint of half and half. We're going to make some toast to go along with this, and I'm also going to use my chicken. I will probably use about 2 to 3 pounds, almost half of this bag of chicken, because we are going to actually prep a little bit for the next meal tonight. I'm going to cook the chicken for another meal along with the chicken I'm cooking for this meal. So we're actually going to make a broth with the chicken and some of the stuff that you see here. And then I'm going to remove the chicken, shred it, and I'm going to save half of it for another recipe. You'll see what I mean whenever we get to that. Here are some things from my own kitchen that I'm using, some staples. I'm going to use salt and pepper and some Italian seasoning to season it. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of butter. I also have some very sad looking celery in my refrigerator that needs to get used, so I'm going to use this, but you could leave that out if you wanted to. And I meant to buy garlic, you guys. I meant to buy a bulb of garlic and I just forgot. So you can leave it out if you want to. You don't have to have it. We like garlicky flavor. If you want to, you could use a little bit of bouillon or broth base, a bouillon cube. I personally think it won't need it because you are actually creating the broth with the things that you see here. You're making chicken broth using the chicken, but you could, if you wanted to enhance the flavor a little bit. My mirepoix, that's the onions, celery, and carrots, sauteing here with a little bit of butter, and I also added a little bit of minced garlic. You could leave that out if you don't have it. And I'm going to go ahead and put my chicken breast in the pot. It's still frozen. It's fine because I'm going to add liquid and bring it to a boil. And remember that I'm going to cook about 2/3 of that bag of chicken right now. I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, salt, probably about a teaspoon, pepper, and about 3 cups of water. I'm going to bring this to a boil, and I'm going to cover and let it low boil or simmer until the chicken is done cooking. It usually takes about 45 to 50 minutes. Whenever I do these types of videos, most of the people who are watching understand that I'm working in kind of a standard kitchen, and that when you have a standard kitchen and you start cooking, you start to have certain things on hand. You have, your basic spices. You have, some standard condiments in your refrigerator, like soy sauce and ketchup and Worcestershire and mustard, maybe even onions and garlic and the kinds of vegetables that you use to flavor different things. But I almost always get comments from people who think it's cheating whenever I use stuff from my own kitchen to supplement these meals. And I'm not really supplementing the overall nutrition of the meal. I am using a few things that I keep on hand to help enhance the flavor. If you don't have Italian seasoning, you can just use salt and pepper and make this. If you don't have butter in your refrigerator, you can leave out the sauteing part with the mirepoix and just start by making your broth. It's okay. It's just food. And even if it isn't as flavorful as you would like it to be, the basic nutrition, for instance, from this recipe is coming from the chicken, the rice, and the half and half. That's what's going to make it filling and make it be a meal that fills the belly and keeps us from going to bed hungry. But I don't always go out of my way to buy every little thing for every little recipe for these videos that might already be in stock in my kitchen and in other kitchens as well. If you are just starting out with cooking and you are wondering where to start with just stocking the staples staples in your kitchen, that is a video that is on my list to make of how we can gradually stock our kitchen with those staple items. And I hope that where the budget meal videos are concerned, that maybe somebody would do 1 or 2 of those types of meal plans with the bare basics, and that would create a little wiggle room in their grocery budget so that they can afford then to slowly stock their kitchen with these staple seasonings and just staple kitchen items that are going to help enhance the flavor of the meals. Okay, my chicken is done cooking. It has been boiling for a little less than an hour or so with the other things in the broth, so it's nice and tender. It is ready to take out of the pot. I'm going to shred it up, and then I'm going to set aside half of it to cool down and pop in the refrigerator for a recipe later this week. This is what's left of my broth here. It still has the veggies in there, and it smells amazing because we basically made our chicken broth from scratch here. So I brought it back up to a simmer. I've got 1 cup of my white rice, which I'm going to put in there. I'm going to go ahead and add the half of the chicken that I cooked that is going in this recipe back in as well. And I'm going to stir in 1 cup of half and half. Now I'm just going to bring that up to a simmer. I'm going to cover it and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until the rice is cooked, and then it will be ready. I'm getting dinner started in the crock pot today. I have 3 big chicken breasts from my bag of chicken breasts here in the crock pot. I diced up the rest of my onion, so half an onion. I have some taco seasoning here, which I make from scratch, and I will leave that link in the description box below. So I'm going to put about 1 to 2 tablespoons or so of that in there. You could just season this with a little salt and pepper, with maybe some chili powder, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder. That's basically what's in my taco seasoning. My can of diced tomatoes with green chilies is going in here as well. About 1/4 cup of water and half my block of cream cheese. I'm just going to place that on top so it gets nice and soft while it cooks. I'm going to pop the lid on that. It's early in the morning. It's only about 9 o'clock as opposed to later in the day. So I'm going to go ahead and just cook that on low all day long, and then we'll be ready to shred that up later. This recipe is inspired by one on my friend Carrie's website. Carrie has several different websites. She has Eating on a Dime. She has Desserts on a Dime. She and her sister Christina run a Lazy Day Cooking Club, which you have heard me talk about many times before. It is a subscription service where they drop Crockpot recipes into their member dashboards every month, and these recipes are designed specifically to prep ahead of time for the freezer. So they give instructions on how to prep them for the freezer and then what to do on cooking day. So if you are interested in checking out Lazy Day Cooking Club, I will leave a link in the description box. I do have a code that gives you 50% off your first month. So I will put that up here on the screen, and you can use that whenever you follow the link below if you are interested in checking out Carrie and Christina's Lazy Day Cooking Club. To go along with the tacos tonight, I am preparing this frozen corn that I bought, and you could just heat this up and eat it. You could add some salt and pepper, a little bit of butter if you want. I'm going to share with you how I have been preparing frozen corn in a way that my family really, really loves. It is a creamy honey butter corn, and it just requires the frozen corn plus 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of honey, about 2 ounces of cream cheese, and salt and pepper to taste. If you do not have these things, like I said, you can just heat the corn up and eat it. You can eat it however you like. I just really wanted to share this little recipe with you because I actually made this a few weeks ago for a different video that I ended up scrapping. I ended up not posting that video, and this was really, really good, and everybody liked it. Okay, my chicken is done. So what I'm gonna do now is take it out and shred it up, and then I'll put it back in and just stir everything to combine it, and we will have yummy filling for our chicken tacos. I will also dice up the tomatoes that I bought so that we can have fresh tomatoes on our tacos as well. It is Wednesday and we're going to be heading out the door pretty quickly for rehearsals and church activities. So I need to throw something together for dinner really quickly to get everybody fed before we leave. This is what I'm using to make the chicken pasta tonight. I have already cooked my box of pasta that you saw in my grocery haul. I just cooked that on the stove and I set aside about 1.5 cups of the starchy pasta water. That's what I have here. This is half of my block of pepper jack. I still have about 1/4 of it left. So like 4 ounces left to use in my last recipe, but this is half or 8 ounces of that 16-ounce block. The rest of my half and half, 1 cup, because I already used 1 cup in another recipe. My chicken, which I cooked the other night. And then from my pantry, I have 3 tablespoons of flour, 3 tablespoons of butter that we're going to use to make the roux. And I was trying to decide how to season this because it's kind of a Tex-Mex flair since it's got the pepper jack cheese. So I think I'm just going to stick with garlic salt. I'll probably use about 1 teaspoon of this in the sauce and then some fresh cracked black pepper. And I thought I'd throw in this little package of crushed red pepper flakes that I have sitting around. So we'll see how that turns out. I have my stove here on low medium heat and I went ahead and melted my butter there. I'm gonna whisk in these 3 tablespoons of flour until it sort of forms a paste. And now I'm just going to whisk in my half and half here. And I do find that it is helpful when I'm working with milk or half and half or cream or something. Pop it in the microwave for just, a few seconds so that it comes to sort of room temperature. I mean, I don't want it to heat. I don't want it to be boiling. But if I bring it to room temperature instead of pouring it in ice cold, it's not going to bring the heat of my pan down too much. I need to turn my heat down because it's just a little too high. I'm gonna go ahead and season this with about 1 teaspoon of garlic salt, fresh cracked black pepper, and my little bitty packet of red pepper, totally optional there. And I'm gonna start to whisk in my starchy water, my starchy pasta water that I reserved from the pasta. This is still over low heat. I had mine just a tad high. I went ahead and turned it down just a little bit. And I'm just gonna let this heat. I'm gonna continue to stir it. It's gonna continue to thicken and you just kind of have to eyeball it as far as like the consistency that you want it to be. I have a whole pound of pasta that's going into this, so I want that sauce to spread evenly over all that. I shredded up my cheese, so I'm gonna add that next and continue stirring it so that it doesn't scald. I don't want the sauce to scald, and with this kind of stuff, I find you have to really give it close attention while it's on the stove, even over low heat. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put my pasta back in, and I'm also gonna stir in my chicken, and as soon as this all heats through, it'll be ready. So I guess this is kind of like a pepper jack mac and cheese, like a pepper jack chicken mac and cheese. What would you guys call this? Here it is, you guys, and it turned out fantastic. I've already tasted it. It is absolutely delicious. It does taste like a pepper jack mac and cheese with chicken in it. If you don't want to use pepper jack, you could get a different kind of cheese. Like I said in the grocery haul, you could get a cheddar, you could use a Colby Jack. I just thought that this would be a good way to add flavor to all of the dishes that I made with the cheese without having to use a lot of extra seasonings. Still have some bread for toast, and I went ahead and made up all of the broccoli that I bought. It was a 2-pound bag, and I just cooked it on the stove. I brought it to a boil and let it boil for about 3 minutes and then drained it. And I went ahead and cooked all of that bag tonight because we're gonna eat the rest of it tomorrow night. And I actually cooked tomorrow night's dinner tonight as well. I wanted to cook it ahead, so all we would have to do is reheat it. So that's the meal you're gonna see next. But this one turned out absolutely delicious. Love it. When I initially filmed this, I did not intend on having a head cold whenever I was trying to record the voiceover, so thank you so much for bearing with me. But this is the last meal that I made, and I'm just using up a lot of the ingredients that I purchased in the original grocery haul. So I have the rest of my bag of rice, which is about 1.5 cups of rice, and the rest of my chicken, which was 3 big chicken breasts. I did go ahead and defrost these, and one of them was just a little bit frozen still, but it turned out just fine. So after I placed those in the dish over the top of the rice, and I washed my hands before I came back to finish up the dish, I did season the chicken with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I took my 8-ounce container of sour cream, my packet of ranch dressing mix, and 2 cups of water. I put that into a big bowl and I stirred it to combine it all. I just tried to make it as smooth as I possibly could. And once that was all combined, I poured it over the top of the chicken and the rice mixture. Then I am going to cover that with foil and I'm going to put it into a
350-degree oven until the chicken is cooked. Mine took right around 50 minutes or so, but you just want to make sure that your chicken is cooked all the way through. I usually use a meat thermometer to check it and make sure that it is cooked to a safe internal temperature, because the amount of time that it takes your chicken to cook is going to depend on the size and thickness of your chicken breast or whatever cut of meat that you are using. So once my chicken was done, I shredded my cheese while it was in the oven. I had about 4 ounces of cheese left from my big block of pepper jack, and I took the foil off and I topped the chicken with the cheese, and then I popped it under the broiler, and it took mine about 4 minutes. You want to be careful, per the usual, whenever you are broiling anything. I have burned so many things, especially toast and biscuits or any other kind of bread product, but you just want to be really careful whenever you're using the broiler not to burn things. I just wanted to kind of brown the top of the chicken and the cheese, and this is one of those dishes that doesn't necessarily look as good as some of the other dishes, but it was really tasty. I was really pleased with the flavor that came from this, even with just the simple ingredients that I used.